Britain has some of the most photographed bridges on Earth. The Golden Gate of London, the fairy tale arches of Bath, the towering cables of the Forth. But scattered across this country are dozens of bridges nobody talks about anymore. Bridges older than the ones in every tourist guide. Bridges tangled up in battles, ghost stories, and engineering firsts that changed how the entire world builds. Most people drive past them without knowing what they're looking at. This is a tour through the bridge's history somehow left behind. 1. Devil's Bridge, Wales. What if a bridge in Wales wasn't actually one bridge at all, but three, hiding inside each other like a set of Russian dolls? That's exactly what Devil's Bridge is, sitting above a deep, narrow gorge near Aberystwyth. The oldest layer, built sometime around the 11th or 12th century, possibly by monks from the nearby abbey, still sits at the very bottom of the gorge, barely visible beneath the two later bridges built directly on top of it. A second bridge was added in 1753, and a third, the one drivers actually cross today, went up in 1901, simply built over the other two rather than replacing them. Local legend claims the original bridge was built by the devil himself, who offered to construct it overnight in exchange for the soul of the first living thing to cross it. The story goes that a clever local woman tricked him by sending her dog across first. 3 separate centuries, one gorge, and a devil who apparently got outsmarted by a dog. Legend says the devil built a bridge overnight for one soul. All I'm asking for is one subscribe, a much better deal. 2. Tarr Steps, Exmoor. Some bridges are engineered. This one might just be older than engineering itself. Head on to Exmoor and you'll find Tarr Steps, one of the oldest river crossings anywhere in Britain, a long row of enormous flat stone slabs laid directly across the River Barle. Nobody knows exactly when it was built. Some historians place it in the medieval period. Others believe it could date back as far as the Bronze Age. It's a design called a clapper bridge, massive stone slabs simply resting on stone piers, no mortar, no metal, nothing holding it together except weight and careful placement. The river has washed it away more than once, most recently in the 1950s, and each time locals have rebuilt it stone by stone using the exact same original method. A bridge that's been destroyed and rebuilt for possibly 3,000 years, using nothing but stacked rock, is still standing on a quiet Exmoor hillside today. 3. Postbridge, Clapper Bridge, Dartmoor. On Dartmoor, tin miners solved a problem 800 years ago that still holds up under modern traffic. At Postbridge, a granite clapper bridge, believed to date to the 13th century, was built to allow pack horses carrying tin from Dartmoor's mines to cross the East Dart River safely. Like Tarr Steps, it's made from massive granite slabs resting on stone piers, no cement at all, engineered entirely through the sheer weight of the stone. It survived nearly 800 years of flooding, freezing winters, and constant use, sitting quietly beside a much newer road bridge. Most drivers take the modern crossing without ever glancing sideways at the medieval one, still doing its job right next to them. 4. Twizel Bridge, Northumberland. An entire army once marched over a bridge you've probably never heard of toward a defeat that changed Scottish history forever. Twizel Bridge crosses the River Till in Northumberland, and in September 1513, the English army used it on their way to fight the Scots at the Battle of Flodden, one of the bloodiest battles ever fought on British soil. A defeat so catastrophic for Scotland that King James IV himself was killed alongside thousands of his men. The bridge that carried that army across the river still stands today, largely unchanged, one of the oldest bridges of its kind still in daily use. The battlefield gets the plaques and the memorials. The bridge that got the army there gets almost nothing. 5. Union Chain Bridge, England-Scotland border. Here's a genuine world record hiding in plain sight on the England-Scotland border. The Union Chain Bridge crosses the River Tweed, connecting Horncliffe in Northumberland to the Scottish side near Berwick, and when it opened in 1820, designed by former Royal Navy officer Captain Samuel Brown, it was the longest wrought-iron suspension bridge on the entire planet. It remains, to this day, the oldest vehicle-carrying suspension bridge still standing and still in use anywhere on Earth. Older than the Menai Bridge, older than Clifton. Engineers across Europe studied its design, and it directly influenced suspension bridge construction for decades, including later work by Isambard Kingdom Brunel, who visited the site in 1823. In 2023, after a 3-year, £10.5 million restoration, the bridge reopened, dismantled piece by piece, and rebuilt using both cutting-edge modern engineering and the same traditional methods used 2 centuries earlier. A structure that quietly rewrote suspension bridge history, and most of Britain still couldn't tell you where it is. 6. Craigellachie Bridge, Scotland. Cast iron was once a gamble nobody trusted at scale, until a bridge on the River Spey proved them wrong. Craigellachie Bridge, completed in 1814, was one of Thomas Telford's earliest and most ambitious cast iron bridges. A single, graceful arch spanning the river with elaborate castellated towers at each end. At the time, cast iron was still an unproven material for large-scale bridge building, and Craigellachie became one of the structures that helped prove the technology actually worked, paving the way for the far more famous iron bridges that followed. Telford's name gets attached to bridges all over Britain. This is one of the ones history quietly forgot to mention. 7. Bridge of Carr, Cairngorms. Some bridges get their names from tragedy, and this one wears it openly. The Bridge of Carr, built in 1717 to cross the River Dulnane near the village of Carrbridge, earned the grim local name the Coffin Bridge, built specifically because funeral processions kept struggling, and sometimes failing, to cross the river safely when it flooded, meaning coffins occasionally had to be carried through dangerous, swollen water just to reach the local churchyard. The bridge solved that problem for exactly 2 centuries, until severe flooding in 1923 washed away most of its structure, leaving only a single dramatic stone arch standing, which is exactly what remains today, a striking ruin still standing directly beside the modern road, named after the very journeys it was built to protect. 8. Essex Bridge, Great Haywood, Staffordshire. The longest pack-horse bridge in Britain is sitting in a Staffordshire village most people couldn't point to on a map. Essex Bridge stretches across the River Trent at Great Haywood, with a striking, unusually long run of narrow stone arches, originally built to allow heavily loaded pack horses to cross safely on their way to and from local hunting grounds. Some local accounts trace its origins to the 16th century, connected to the Earl of Essex, though much of what stands today reflects later rebuilding. It's not the oldest pack horse bridge in the country, it's just the longest one that survived at all. 9. Sheepwash Bridge, Ashford-in-the-Water. There's a reason a tiny stone pen still sits beside this next bridge, and it's exactly what it looks like. In the Peak District village of Ashford-in-the-Water, Sheepwash Bridge is a squat, low stone crossing over the River Wye, named directly after its original job, holding sheep before they were thrown into the river and swum across to wash their wool ahead of shearing. A small stone pen still sits beside the bridge today, a practical, slightly brutal piece of agricultural history hiding in plain sight beside one of the most photographed villages in the entire national park. 10. The Wycoller Bridges, Lancashire. A crumbling stone bridge in Lancashire may have quietly shaped one of the most famous novels in English literature. In an abandoned hamlet, the Wycoller Bridges, a cluster of crossings over Wycoller Beck that includes both a medieval clapper bridge and a smaller stone packhorse bridge, sit beside the ruins of Wycoller Hall. The hall is widely believed to have inspired Ferndean Manor in Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre, and the bridges nearby feel like stepping directly into that landscape, with no sign or plaque anywhere to tell visitors what they're actually looking at. 11. Kingsgate Bridge, Durham. Not every bridge on this list is ancient. Some engineering feats happened within living memory and still slipped past everyone's notice. In Durham, Kingsgate Bridge, completed in 1963, used one of the strangest construction methods in British bridge building history. Rather than building it in place across the River Wear, engineers constructed the 2 halves separately on each riverbank, then rotated both halves outward on massive hinges until they met and locked together directly above the water. Designed by engineer Over Arup, who considered it one of his finest achievements, the bridge is tucked so seamlessly into Durham's medieval skyline that most visitors walk straight past a genuine feat of 20th century engineering without a second glance. 12. Old Brig Doon, Eyre. Witches supposedly can't cross running water, and this bridge is the reason we still say it. In Eyre, Scotland, the Old Brig Doon, a narrow medieval stone arch dating back to at least the 15th century, became permanently immortalized by Robert Burns in his poem Tam O'Shanter, in which the terrified hero escapes a horde of pursuing witches by crossing the bridge, since, according to the folklore Burns drew from, evil spirits couldn't follow across running water. Tourists photograph this bridge constantly. Most of them have no idea it's the exact setting of the story. 13. Meldon Viaduct, Dartmoor. While Britain restores its grand stone viaducts and turns them into heritage attractions, this one is just quietly rusting into the moor. Meldon Viaduct on Dartmoor, a striking iron lattice structure built in the 1870s to carry the railway across the West Oakmont River, has stood disused for decades since the line closed, its skeletal iron frame now repurposed as a footpath and cycleway. A genuine piece of Victorian railway engineering, slowly fading, unrestored, back into the landscape it was built to cross. 14. Pontcysyllte Aqueduct, North Wales. Boats don't just cross this next bridge, they cross it 40 metres in the air. Thomas Telford's Pontcysyllte Aqueduct in North Wales carries not roads or railways, but an entire canal, water and boats, suspended nearly 40 metres above the River Dee on a thin cast-iron trough held up by 18 stone pillars. Completed in 1805, it remains the longest and highest aqueduct in Britain, and boats still float across it today, directly through the sky, along a channel barely wider than the vessels themselves. UNESCO World Heritage status in 2009 finally started changing its reputation, but for 200 years before that, one of the most audacious pieces of engineering ever built in this country sat almost entirely unknown outside canal boating circles. 15. Ferry Bridge, Isle of Skye. We'll end somewhere the bridge barely matters, and the story is the whole reason it's famous. On the Isle of Skye, near Uig, a small stone slab crosses a narrow stream, known locally as the Ferry Bridge. Local folklore holds that this is the spot where a fairy bride was forced to leave her human husband and their child, gifting the family a magical flag before she vanished back into the water. That flag, according to legend, became the real fairy flag, still kept at nearby Dunvegan Castle, one of Scotland's most treasured and mysterious heirlooms. Walk past it too fast, and you'd miss a slab of stone that's outlived centuries of storytelling. 15 crossings spanning nearly 1,000 years of British history. A monk's bridge buried beneath two newer ones. A bridge named after coffins. A bridge that carried an army toward one of the bloodiest defeats in Scottish history. A bridge that quietly rewrote suspension engineering for the entire world. None of them show up on the postcards. Most of them don't even get a mention on the road signs pointing toward them. And every single one is still standing right now, still carrying traffic, walkers and water, exactly the way it always has, just waiting for someone to actually stop and ask what they're crossing.